Welcome to the Empowering Choices Parenting Podcast. My name is Joshua.
I am Lucas.
And I'm Eric. Click.
Eric.
What are you?
Click.
Supposed to be like Papa
Eric
Shark?
is
that
used
what
to
you're doing?
having the thing, but we don't have the thing.
What is that called anyway?
It's
a
like
clapper?
a clapper. Yeah.
Did you
Clapper.
sell it?
Yeah.
That's the thing
No,
you turn the lights
it's probably
on
just
with,
in the
right?
drawer over there.
So you
It
didn't
is.
get it out.
No, we didn't get it
No,
out,
it's anyway.
it's okay. It's okay because today
Eric wanted to make connections.
he wanted to make
clapper
connections, and today we're talking.
Yes,
we're talking.
the clapper makes us professional.
Okay, if we had a clapper,
That's like for the lights. That's the
it
clapper
would
for the
say
lights.
today's
Either
title.
Spanish dancing or belly dancing.
Okay, I'm moving on. If we had a clapper, it would say, "Are you connecting with your child?" Because that's the title
Are
of
you trying
today's
to
episode.
drag us back onto topic,
I
Josh?
am.
Stop
We never even got to the topic.
It's true.
So,
Whose fault was that?
not mine. Okay.
So this is kind of a part of a list of things you had run across to Eric of things that parents regret.
Yes.
And you described this title as they did not enjoy communicating with their child, which I mean, I don't know what like enjoy. Was that an emphasis in the thing that you were reading? Because I mean, I guess I remember someone saying that like there's two elements to doing something good. There's doing it and enjoying doing it.
Yep.
And ideally you want both of those things to be true.
Right.
But if you're not currently enjoying doing it, you should still do the good thing because one out of two is better than 0 out of 2.
Right.
Good.
Now,
Yeah, I thought that was
the
good.
parents are providing. They're providing a house. They're providing clothing. They're providing food. They're providing, all of the bare necessities that you need to provide. But what the parents were saying is, I regret not spending more time really enjoying the relationship with my child, really getting into their world, really enjoying spending time with them, really enjoying communicating with them.
Mm-hmm.
I had my interests, they had their interests. So as a parent, I didn't deviate from my interests enough to make them a part of my interest.
So it sounds like the way you're describing it is that the thing that parent would have wanted to have done is connect with their child even if they didn't initially enjoy it, with the hope that it eventually would become enjoyable for the parent. But regardless, it's like good even if it wasn't, quote, enjoyable.
Well, and there's a lot of different ways to be able to do that. I mean, and what those parents said is basically we didn't end up knowing our kids.
Yeah.
We
Right.
And I've seen that. I've seen parents say, I know my kid, you're like this, and the kid will tell me later, or then going, no, that's not what I'm like.
Like in like
No,
counseling sessions and stuff.
They really don't know me, or they would know that's not true. Now, when I was 7, yes, I liked that, but I'm 15 now, and they don't know how I've changed and grown and expanded, and that's kind of what these parents were saying is we lost touch somewhere in there. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything your kid likes or wants.
Definitely not that last part.
Right. And there's going to be things that you're going to get into their world that just it isn't you. One of the boys that I had, he was a huge Twilight fan. Huge Twilight fan. Huge Twilight fan.
The movie in the
You
books
like
with
Twilight?
the vampires, in case anyone has no context.
Yeah, it's great movie. Well, it's a great movie to him.
It's a
that he really
popular
loved.
movie.
It was at that
I
time.
made it through it one time.
Yeah. Well, see, I had never seen it really. I had seen parts of it, and to me, it was like Interview with the Vampire. I was just like, yeah, I'm done. There's just too much talking going on here.
Yeah, no, I like that one. But in any case.
And so he wanted me to watch it, and I'm like, really? I was calling Billy. Billy, I'm not a big fan of this. He goes, no, but you like Underworld. I'm like, I love the Underworld series. Right. And he goes, you'll like this. I'm like, I'm not sure I will. And he goes, but I really want you.
He somehow thought that there was similarity between.
Yeah, well, it had vampires and werewolves. And he thought that would just take me into there. And I'm like, from what I've heard, these are not the same movies.
No.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? This is your favorite movie. I'm going to watch this with you. And so we're watching this, and it's a very long movie. And so, we stop to kind of do an intermission. And I'm just sitting there going, man, how much longer do I have to do this? How much longer do I have to do this? I'm not doing this well. And he looked at me, and he said, so what do you think? I was like, crap. Oh, boy, what do I do now? Because I want to be honest. because that's a part of how you get to know your kids and how your kids are getting to know you. And he could read me well enough that he went, "You don't like it." And I'm like, "You want me to be honest?" And he goes, Yes, I want you to tell me exactly what you think of this movie." I'm like, "Exactly what I think?" He goes, "Yes, I want to know." Billy, I keep waiting as we're watching this movie for the cast of Underworld to jump out of the bushes and kill all the cast of Twilight, and now we have a movie.
Wow.
And he's like,
Wow.
"Oh."
He was heartbroken.
He was heartbroken. And I'm like, "Listen, I know that you asked me what I really think, and you know how direct I can be." I said, "But I know you like this movie. So now tell me why this movie is important to you. Tell me why you like this movie. And let's talk about that." And he enjoyed how the movie mirrored different types of relational pieces that were in his world at the time on a teenage level. He liked that. He liked those interactions that were written into there. Yes, there were a couple of girls that he thought were very attractive too that helped with that. But he liked the storytelling being along the lines of his world. I didn't know that. I got to learn that.
And so that was you like, well, I mean, that's a good example of you connecting and then also being honest, right? And like, again, that's kind of why I was asking about, because like the way you wrote the topic is enjoy communicating with their child.
Right.
There was a part of that interaction that you didn't enjoy, but it was also like good.
Right.
Yeah.
My son has always loved the Lego world games, Lego superheroes,
The video games.
Lego
Yeah.
Batman, Lego. I can't do these well. He's like, "Oh, let's just play. It'll be great. We'll get in here. We'll do these different things. You kill the bad guys. You figure out the puzzle." He goes, "What's not to like?" The puzzle.
Oh, not a puzzle guy.
I'm not a puzzle person. And I'm like, you just got to know. I mean, I'll get in here and play, but it's going to get to a part where I kind of get a little bit bored, and then I'm going to destroy everything. I can't help it. And he goes, no, it'll be fine. So we get in there, and he's trying to figure out the puzzle, and I'm bouncing around, and I'm blowing up everything, destroying everything. And then when there's nothing left, I blow up him. And he's like, "Why do you keep blowing me up?" I'm like, "I'm bored." "What? I told you. This is what will happen." And he's like, "Okay, I think I got the puzzle. Now kill all the bad guys." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Now we're at a different puzzle."
Because that's the whole shtick.
That's the whole thing. Is you go a little bit.
So you never played the Legend of Zelda games, did you?
I never played the Legend of Zelda
They're
games.
puzzle
Talk about a puzzle. Yeah.
I had a different teen that I worked with, and her thing was Tomb Raider.
Okay. Which
I
also have puzzles.
big puzzles.
Your face.
Oh boy, big puzzles. But I enjoyed watching her do the puzzles.
Okay.
Because she could do that. And a different boy, because racing games, not my thing. I cannot do.
I'm starting to wonder what is your thing.
Oh, you're about to find out.
Sports, football,
are you ready?
Halo, shooting games.
Kind of. Okay, so he loved racing games. I'm like, it's the same thing every time. Now,
You're going around the
every
track
game
in a
is the same
circle.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. But so now he thought it was different because you have a cityscape.
Okay.
Okay. To me, it's the same thing, and I need more stimulation. And so I'm like playing like hours and hours and hours and hours of racing games. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to do something different. So when the green light hit, I veered my car off to the right, hit his car, ran it right into the building, drug him right down the building, and then went off. And I'm in the race now. And he just looked at me and he goes, "You can't do that." And then he
did.
hit it right. And I'm like, and then he pulled his car back in and he went, "That was kind of cool." And from then on, every racing game was demolition.
Okay.
And unlike NASCAR, they didn't ban that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that video of that driver I showed you who was like scraping along
Right.
the curve NASCAR banned that.
We play. Oh, I know. That was
Tragic.
Yeah, right. We were playing, I introduced him to some sports games. And so we were playing football. And he was getting, the hang of it. And he was doing really well with it. And so I would go see him a couple hours a week for my job. And so the second time that I came back after we started playing, the Madden football game, I noticed that I'm losing. I'm losing.
He says with surprise.
Yeah, I'm losing players. Like they're going down with injury, like at an excessive rate in a video game. Like they catch the ball and they've broken their hand type thing. I'm losing players. They can't catch the ball. They can't keep the ball. They can't run. It's almost like they run the other way. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's just sitting there going, what
have you done?
And I'm like, we need an intermission. And so, we did an intermission and I looked at my roster and he had very cleverly over those 2 days traded out every single one of my players for every worst player in the league he could find.
Wow.
It was like,
and it wasn't immediately obvious.
I was like, are any of these cheerleaders? Because I mean, can you actually put them on my team? And he just laughed and I'm like, all right, now I'm 4 touchdowns down, but I know the game now.
Yeah.
It's on. Here we go. And so I played with that team, and I actually was able to get a few things accidentally over the goal line.
Wow.
And was catching up, but it just became a good experience because it didn't matter if I was winning or losing. It was the experience. And for him, having fetal drug effect, having a failure to thrive, he had like about 6 big diagnoses. And for him to put all that thought into it and to do that and to interact with that was my win right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just was something to enjoy. What those parents were talking about is how, they regretted being so caught up in their own interests and hobbies. And I'm a huge hobby person. Our emotional gumballs is all about these different things. But it's like our kids don't become an equal interest to our interests. And that's what these parents were saying is that, no, I missed that part.
And it's different when you actually take time to dive in and do something. One of the things that I always thought was funny is I worked with a lot of, and this was back when Halo was newer.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents that had heard Halo and they thought that their middle school boys are just they're all infatuated with this game about angels,
something angelic,
right, and they have no clue, what Halo.
I'm playing Halo.
Was.
That's great, Johnny. Keep it up, kiddo.
Exactly, and had they just spent like
30 seconds
investigating, they would actually know. And so no wonder these
it's okay.
kids.
The blood in Halo is blue because
exactly,
it's all from aliens.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So no wonder the kids think the parents are lost it because they haven't even taken the time to look. And that's what, I think it's kind of interesting as you were talking, I was kind of thinking like proximity does not necessarily equal connection and communication. You can be close physically. You can pick a kid up every day, but if you don't ask questions or create experiences or do something, you could totally miss it.
Right. I had one parent that I'm thinking of, and she had an 8 or 9 year old boy, and he loved video games. He loved Fortnite. She's like, I've never been a video game person. I mean, I can't do it. And she had reasons why it was not her. And she goes, but you know what I can do? I can sit next to Billy. Let's call him Billy. Everybody's Billy. Because I've never had a Billy. I can sit next to Billy and I can watch him. And he can explain the game to me, and I can cheer for him. And they did that. And they would set aside
and they're
time,
connecting.
And they're connecting. And she knew what Fortnite was, and she knew what his other games were.
Right.
And then she knew what she would put the limits on in different ways. Sure. My son also he was big in Minecraft. Minecraft is not exactly about
blowing things up,
right?
Not primarily, no.
Right,
in a limited fashion. But
he's like, you should come in and play with me. We could build big things. I'm like, I'm the demolition to what you don't want, and he understood that, and so he's like, did you know that Halo has a building part of it? I think it was like Halo 3 or 4,
like a map builder,
a map builder. I'm
like the Forge or whatever.
Right. He's
awesome.
like, we could do something in there, and that would be great. And I'm going, oh, I think that would be great. And so we got in there and I'm like, okay, show me how to do these things and how do you drop things and how do you build things? And so he's like building his fort and we're just building is what we're doing. And I had like bridges that went to different things.
You can just like spawn vehicles while you're doing that. I mean, it's
You see where he's going now.
So I went. And
What vehicles would he be spawning there, Josh?
So my son went, okay, I'm all done with mine, and you should come look at it. And I'm like, I should come look at it. So I go behind mine, and he's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go to the back here a little bit. I have to finish something. Drop vehicle, drop vehicle, drop vehicle, drop tank, drop airplane, drop guns, drop this, drop that, drop that. And I dropped in myself into one of those vehicles, and I rode over and started taking shots. And he's like, no, we're supposed to, I want to show it to you. Yeah, show me which balcony you want me to shoot at you on. And then he's like,
funny.
Fine. And so he starts dropping vehicles.
Sure,
Now it's taken a whole new course. And he's loving it and I'm loving it. Had he not wanted that or liked that, I would have just driven the vehicles, off the world, and I'd have gone and seen what he wanted me to see. Sure. But
that's the knowing your child.
Knowing your child. Because I knew once I got that in there that he'd be like, oh, this is going to be fun. And it was. And then he started building even better things. It was amazing.
So to ask the obvious question, why is it important to connect with your child? We're assuming that it is, but I mean, like...
Okay, well, let's go a couple of different sides. Who's responsible for every single thing their child does?
Particularly when they're younger, the parents.
Well, is there an age to which they are not responsible anymore?
Yeah, adulthood.
Yeah, 18. Okay, so up to 18, you're responsible for everything they do. A relationship with them cuts down on what you have to pay for. I'm just saying.
That's incredibly practical and very true.
And it's very true. Yeah. I mean, because I've had kids in treatment that because their parents wouldn't spend time with them, didn't want a connection, in order to get their parents to them and talking, they just went down Main Street and broke every single window in every single shop and waited for the cops to come.
To get their parents' attention.
To get they went to a treatment. Now their parent has to come to the treatment.
We need to retitle this episode, How to Save Yourself Money.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's kind of an extreme side of it.
Well, I mean, it's but really though,
right?
Like that's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
If you want to know your kid, because we have parents that come and when they come and they're like, hey, I want you to do counseling with my child. They are having these problems, they're having these behaviors. My first question is, how much time do you spend with them? 50% of the time, a parent will look at me and go, this is not about me. I want you to fix my child. And I would say, I understand that. Now, how much time do you spend with your children? This is a part of helping your child.
It'll keep them from breaking all the windows on Main Street.
Right. I mean, and to a lot of people's defense as parents in our society, we have been so devalued and made to think that we are so powerless and made to think that, well, anyone on this planet could just raise my kid. What's the special thing about me? They can just go out there and get it from someone else. Go to in our manual or in our courses where it talks about the blood bond, and you'll see why it has to come from you, and it's more powerful coming from you than any other person on the planet, bar none. And what little that is that you have to do, meaning if your kid just wants to throw a ball, if your kid just wants to play a game, if your kid just wants to do these little things, not chores, unless there are slices of kids that doing those chores will work, and it's okay.
The amount of times that I have put together the horsey puzzle in my house recently, I practically have the thing memorized.
Right there. And it's... You have different things that you can do, and you can introduce them to things. We have in the new house that we've moved to, my son's aunt had made him cornhole. The game, and it's 3/4 the size of this table. We now have the room to actually be able to play that. And when the weather gets nice, we're gonna have probably in the driveway or something. We'll do that because the backyard's not quite big enough for that. And that's a thing that he enjoys and wants to be able to do, And so you find those different things that you both have in common. I have parents who will say, okay, I'll play games with my kid. And so then they find a game that they as a parent like, and they will keep dragging their kid back to the table and back to the table and back to the table and back to the table.
I'm connecting with my child.
And the child's like, I don't want to play this game anymore.
See, knowing your child.
Know your child.
Like
give them a
Candyland.
choice. Yeah. You know, and I get it. I mean, because every time I say to a parent, hey, you know, does the child, you know, can they pick a game? They'll be like, Monopoly. It's always Monopoly. And I'm like, okay.
You know how many versions of Monopoly there are? There might be one you like better.
Well, and the thing is, usually Monopoly or Risk is about the time.
Oh,
you see?
Okay.
And
I'm
so
drag my mom into a 3-hour experience.
You are the parent. Tell them the time frame.
Oh, I'll do it.
You see what I mean?
An hour.
So at the end of an hour, or do you have a place, you know, because like in our counseling sessions at times, games are going to go beyond that session. We have these wonderful new technologies. Okay, they're not that new. Take a picture, and then the next time you have time to come back to it, another hour, you know exactly where everything's at, and you can go from there.
You could play for an hour, put it away, and then 3 days later come back.
Old school, we had to find a piece of furniture that nobody was going to mess with, including the cat, and put it up on that.
Sure, right. Yeah, leave the board in its...
Yeah.
Sometimes you put a towel over it, but then that just, you know, attracted the cat. But so there's so many different ways to be able to do that, and you get to set the limits. And once your child knows you enough, they're going to understand, okay, it's just an hour. All right, but I'm winning. All right, we'll come back to it at a different time, you know.
So you were saying that the obvious reason to connect with your child is to save you money. I got the impression you had other...
Well, that's the bottom line.
Sure. I think it's a great reason.
The next part is, you know, because like we have parents who say, hey, my kid is having these behaviors. The more that you connect with them, the more that will naturally help with those behaviors because they want to please you. They want you to be proud of them.
Yeah, I always thought this was a genius thing that I did one time when I oversaw a operation with a lot of kids. I would have parents who would complain about, you know, what their kids were doing, but it really had nothing to do with me and the program I was running. So I made a complaint form, but on the complaint form, it said, you know, your name, your kid's name, what's the issue, why do you need to talk to me? And then I just had a little section where it asked them, what are you doing about this? And how much time have you spent with your child on this? And all of a sudden, like the complaint forms drastically dropped because I think people went and they're like, I need somebody else to take care of this. Oh, wait. Actually, I haven't even
addressed it.
Spent any time figuring this out, and so
yeah, you take care of it. You're the adult, you're the teacher, you're the youth leader, you're the counselor. You know, we get drug into that all the time. You know, you're the counselor. You tell them how it is. Oh well, what'd you say? Well, I didn't say anything. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you join us? Let's start there.
Right. Why don't you? And there are circumstances where people will come in on purpose and bring their problem into the counseling room because, like, we couldn't talk about this at home. We brought it in here to talk about it.
Yep. And that's 100% valid. You know, and a different scenario than what you're talking about there.
Yeah. For sure.
You know, but the key is get to know that because there's a different bottom line to this as well. The bottom line for parents can be money. But then go to the other end. When you're in your senior years, like 70s, 80s, do you want them to be involved in your life?
Or even in your 40s when they're adults. And
True. I mean, you can get into the middle there, but let's go with the two ends.
Sure.
Because I've had adults come in that say, I am waiting until my parents are in a place where I can become the one who's in charge of their care because I'm going to pay them back for how they treated me as a kid. And that is a real thing that can happen. Whereas the reverse is, do you want them in your life when you need them the most? You know, right now, I mean, Bruce Willis, with his condition that he has, all the pictures are the articles that I've seen. He is surrounded by his family, his daughters, his wife, his ex-wife. He has that cushion where he needs it the most. And that has to go to how he cultivated those relationships generally.
Well, there's kind of like a historical, practical element of like, you raise kids so that they can help be part of the family, so that there's a practical element of you have people to do stuff. So you have like a farm or a business or and you're talking about like the emotional, social things, which are also important, but like raise kids so that they can be positive elements of your life. And I mean, I don't know, I suppose we're almost making arguments for like, even if you're selfish, there's good reasons to connect with your kids, even out of like a sense of selfishness.
Exactly.
It'll give you less problems and give you more support beyond all the things that it's good for your kid for.
Exactly.
So there you go. Be selfish.
There you go.
Hopefully it'll go beyond that as a motivation, but if that's your only motivation, then you are connecting with your
think
kid.
those are really good reasons to like, I don't know, because like those are real reasons. It'll say like, be good to your kids, it'll save you money. Can we put that on a t-shirt?
Or, connect with your kids. You might really enjoy the experience.
Sure, right.
Yeah, you might really enjoy the relationship in ways that you had no idea that you would enjoy it. I mean, being able to have that time and spend that time, and it was great, and I can look back on it. That goes with that taking pictures, where they felt they didn't take enough pictures, those parents, and it was to preserve those moments for those memories.
Yeah. So I think all that is some really good stuff, and if you're looking for additional ideas and just ways to connect with your kids, to talk with your kids, we have a lot of courses and material on that. Make sure, go to the App Store for whatever phone you use and download our app. You can just search Empowering Choices Parenting. And we have a free course on there that you can take, and then you can sign up for additional courses and additional things. And we will see you on our next episode.